truck goes.
Trucks!
You know, it's the 4th of October, and spirits are already feeling a little lighter, I would say.
Yeah, no, the national mood, at least among the people that we know and talk to, is light and buoyant.
Yeah.
And I've never felt so much like I was in 19th century Europe as I do.
Yeah.
As we were all breathlessly speculating over the health of the head of state who lies abed.
Absolutely.
Rumors flying hither and yon.
Absolutely appropriate to the 4th day of Halloween that this would be what would lighten all of our moods.
Yeah. No, it's the time of year where whoa.
You know. Hey, well, look at us. We got
multiple
like
whoa.
We got a
You got
mulcher.
flags, buddy.
It's a mulcher. And we got oversized load. All right, good to know. I didn't know until just now. I read it on the front of my own truck.
Well, that's very exciting. Your truck is also extremely fancy. It looks kind of like a PT Cruiser.
Yeah,
With a mulcher attached to it.
I didn't know that they added more than 2 truck chassis into this game. I have slightly fucked up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've every faith in your ability to unfuck yourself. Here.
Isaac, do you remember what we're talking about today?
Yes, I think that we decided that, and we decided on this before the latest, positive question mark news.
No, yeah, I don't want to talk about the news very much, as positive as it is.
We said we were gonna, have a nice little chat about our early memories. We were going to dip into our kidhood and just
see what comes out of
enjoy
that.
a little bit of light nostalgia. And
yes, try to tiptoe around the bad childhood memories as much as possible.
Yeah, I think I mean, and also maybe use it as a jumping off point to talk about memory in general.
Yeah, maybe something will come out. I currently don't have any thoughts about memory in general, but you know what's going to make me have some thoughts about memory in general is talking about memories.
Exactly. So why don't we just jump off? Josh, what is your earliest memory when you were a young Welsh child growing up in the sheep farms?
Definitely Wales, yes.
Yes.
I think this might actually be a tale that I told long ago on trucks, but the earliest memory that I can bring to mind is in fact a dream that I had as a very, very small child, possibly even an actual baby.
Baby dream.
Yeah. In this dream, I was pushing a toy. It might have been a train, might have been a truck, might have even been a truck. Around a carpeted room with my brother. He was pushing a toy of his own. And my mom was sitting in a chair watching us, big smile on her face. And I was only slightly uneasy. I say that I was uneasy, but my mood was not like fright or despair or anything. But I was slightly uneasy because I noticed that there weren't any windows or doors in this room. And I was like, well, that seems off. That seems like it could potentially be trouble. But I expressed this to my mother in the way I knew how to at the time. I think I didn't know very many words. I just said, "Mommy," and she quite reassuringly said, "Yes." And this repeated a few times, and that's what I remember of the dream.
That is really fascinating. That seems more. I mean, because that seems like the dream of a very young person. If you're,
it feels like a language acquisition dream is what I was thinking when I was recalling this the other night. It feels like my brain doing the work of trying to figure out how to express this problem and how to like understand reassurance about it from the source of reassurance, my mother.
So what this tells me straight off the bat, right off the way, is that you have a much more complete memory than I do.
Oh no. This just happens to be something remarkably early that I can remember. I don't think I can remember very much. I have very few memories. I'll just segue into this. I have very few memories of England before moving out of it.
Right. And for the record, we have a long-running joke that Josh is Welsh, or rather, I have a long-running joke that Josh is Welsh, which Josh has declined to participate in for the most part for understandable reasons. But Josh is in fact English by birth.
I do have a lot of good memories of Wales. I have more memories of Wales than that's not really true. But I have maybe more early memories of Wales. That's probably not true either. I just have a lot of memories of Wales because my mother did in fact grow up in a house in Wales. She too is English, but her English parents bought a house in Wales where I got to visit a beautiful house on a beautiful beach. Anyway, England memory. The only thing I really can summon to mind about life in England is that we had a house with a backyard, and the neighbor's house had a similar backyard, one of those kind of urban houses, very narrow house with a narrow yard in the back. And there was a hole in the fence because the neighbor kids and us, the neighbor kids were slightly older, we liked to play, and so the respective parents thought it would be cool for us to be able to just sort of slip through the fence and go hang out with each other in the yards, which I remember was pretty sweet. I don't remember those kids at all. Sometimes my mom tells me about them. That's a memory.
Cool.
What's your earliest memory?
Well, it was just that your earliest memory being a dream made me think about how, like, in fact, I can remember a number of my early childhood dreams much more clearly than I can remember my actual early childhood.
Really?
I can certainly. I sort of tried to date these memories by which house we were in, because I was in one house until the age of 5, and then another one for the rest of my childhood. And probably my most, a number of my most compelling memories from that time are in fact dreams that took place in that house. I think my earliest dream that I can remember involved coming downstairs at Christmas and receiving a Nintendo and a copy of Super Mario 1.
Ooh.
Which I then played, and which was much harder than the real game, and involved nothing but Bowser and Bowser castles.
Wow.
So, Mario has been with me from the beginning, I guess.
Young Isaac really saw the drama of Mario as the struggle against Bowser also.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was probably because that was what was on the cover of the game, like a fire bar and, bonking around the castle, and so that's what, having not played the game probably at that point, that's what I extrapolated.
Mario 3 trucks in a row now, hell yeah.
I mean, Mario is very central to this and other generations.
It's true.
He's a thing. By the way, I've finished my playthrough of Mario Galaxy.
Nice.
And have now moved on to Luigi, since we never did that. And I remember we thought that Luigi controlled differently, but I can't really tell the difference.
I'm pretty sure we didn't think Luigi controlled differently.
Oh, really?
Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe that's in the second game that he controls differently.
I don't think he controls differently in the second game either. The second game just kind of lets you pick him up halfway through. I think we might have actually played as him a few times, because he just appears at the starts of certain levels and he's like, "Hey, bro, you want me to do it?"
He just makes different noises.
Yeah.
My single favorite thing so far has been the fact that all of the letters that Princess Peach sends to Mario are still for Mario when you're playing as Luigi, but the Toad who's delivering it comments on them and is like, "Oof, sorry, buddy."
That's pretty good.
Which is pretty good.
Well, how's Princess Peach to know that Luigi's doing all the work for once?
Yeah. Anyway, this is a tangent.
I have a Mario memory.
Oh yeah, memory. Give me a Mario memory.
I remember, this is quite a bit later. I was playing Super Mario 64, and
look at this picturesque little town.
Yeah, where are we? Did you catch the name?
No, I didn't.
Let's just check it out.
Lewiston. Ah, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
Lewiston, Idaho, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. It's like a little northwestern town. But yes, you were playing Mario 64. How old would you have been?
Let's see. The Nintendo 64 came out, if I'm not mistaken, in like 96 or 98. So at least that old. Probably around that old, because I would be playing it when it had just came out.
Which would make you...
I was born in 1990, so what age
still,
I am is an easy function of what year it is.
Very youth. That's tough for me to reckon with. That you at the same time that I would have been playing Nintendo, you would have been playing Nintendo 64.
The Nintendo 64 was the first console I owned. It wasn't the first console that I played. I played a lot of Super Nintendo at daycare.
It's very, very hard line generational differences right there. I can't believe you had a Super Nintendo at daycare. Good grief. I would have killed for that.
Anyway, I remember the memory is that I discovered the way to unlock the wing cap quite late. It didn't occur to me to look up into that spear of light that takes you to the wing cap level.
Right. As if I know this. Like, obviously, I never played 64. It's these
you might soon.
Irreconcilable gender? No, generational gaps. It is. I actually started playing it and was like, God, this is clunky as hell.
Oh, is it though? The controls I think really hold up. They're quite similar to the ones they used in Galaxy.
Yeah, no, it's not the
camera. The camera is
it's
clunky.
It's the environment. But really, that's a problem in Galaxy too. You end up looking through walls a lot in Galaxy.
Yeah.
That was vicious of you.
Yeah, it sure was. Just had to go for it.
Well, let's move back to the lure of Mario continues to pull.
Back to the memory.
The wing cap. What was it with the wing cap?
I remember thinking that the wing cap level was so cool because, I was a kid. I loved the idea of flight. And the wing cap level, for those who don't know, consists of flying around in, like, the damn sky. You're so high up you can't see the ground, and there's some, like, really tall castle towers kind of reaching up to you, and some rings that you have to fly through. And, yeah, I thought this was just the most fun shit ever. It was amazing. And when I finished the level, I immediately tried to go back by looking back up at the thing, and it didn't work. And I cried and cried and cried and cried for the rest of the day, because I was like, why would they put in that cool level and not let me go back? And then some hours later, after I really just, like, completely exhausted my family with all the bawling about this completely trivial thing, realized that I was wrong, and I just didn't look back up at it right. And you can totally go back to that level. So I was relieved and embarrassed.
That's an excellent memory.
And I have this association with that level forever now.
Isn't it funny how central video games are to our generation? Using the term generation loosely, like emotionally. Yeah. One of my first big dreams being about getting Mario, and then a lot of my other early childhood memories being about getting my hands on video games or not getting my hands on video games, as the case may be. Playing Atari, which was my first console was an Atari, not the 2600, but a generation later, sort of the last Atari cartridge generation.
Yeah. I remember how bad I wanted a GameCube.
Gosh,
how long it took me to get one.
On the many occasions that I wish that I had optimized my build when I was a kid and still had a plastic brain that could learn things with ease. I wish that I had spent far less time playing video games, and way more time learning, physical skills.
Yeah.
But what can you do? You're a kid.
They say
I doubt in the absence of video games I would have gone out and learned to wrestle.
Yeah. They say video games are good for the neuroplasticity, so maybe you wouldn't be such a good podcaster if not for the video games.
I certainly wouldn't be spending so much of my current time playing video games if I didn't have those skills.
Yeah.
Oh well. At least we love Mario. At least we can bask in the love of Mario.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, it's a good time to be into video games. Both because the video games are quite good and because what the shit else is there to do.
Yeah, no, there is that. Like having a hobby that doesn't involve leaving the house and is at least a little bit more mentally feedbacky than passively consuming media is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
tell me another memory.
Yeah. So my first actual memory, I've decided this, like, of the range of possible first memories that I could have. I'm gonna just list them to give you, or list some of them to give you a vibe. First of all, CW emetophobia. I know we have like at least one of those in our audience, but my very first memory is vomiting grape juice in front of adults. And the thing that struck with me, I had drank too much grape juice that night. There was some sort of party happening, and
grape juice was
I puked, and the puke was just grape juice. It was just so purple, and that's what I remember.
Yeah. Did it taste like grape juice?
I don't remember the sensation of puking. What I remember is the visual image, because my memory is very image-based.
Yeah.
The visual image of looking down into the little plastic container that I had been given to throw up into and being like, purple. That is purple.
Puking is pretty traumatic for a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I definitely... It made some impressions on me, too.
It was such a central, concern for me for like the first X years of my life, and then I became a non-puker, and I haven't puked in like decades now.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what flipped over there, but
I think maybe puking leaves such an impression on kids because it's one of the earliest signs that your body can betray you.
yeah, it can get completely out of control, which is scary. It is scary that
Yeah.
you can do something without wanting to do it. Other memories include falling off of a small brick retaining wall and chipping a tooth,
Ooh.
which was my first like serious injury. I mean, it wasn't serious,
Yeah.
but like my first injury. Here's a good poetic early memory.
Okay.
A thing that I don't remember which of my parents' idea this was, but probably my mom. Maybe not. I don't know. We'd take maybe my dad. It could have been either of them. I really just spent a good 2 minutes explaining the concept of which of my parents it might have been out of the two possible parents. So you know daylilies? You might not know daylilies.
I don't know daylilies.
But they're a plant, and they and they make these little hard dead stalks, which you can pluck, and that's a nice stick, for a kid to wave around.
Yeah.
And we used to sit on the curb, the sidewalk curb, and hold the daylily stalks out into the street and pretend we were fishing. That was an
Nice.
activity that we had.
That's very sweet.
It is very sweet, and I remember particularly one evening after the street in front of our house had just been freshly refinished, so it was this like perfect black asphalt, which still smelt vaguely, but it was just of tar. But it was the sheer, huge black expanse of it that I was, dipping my imaginary fishing rod into.
I wonder what you would catch in such waters.
Pretend fish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I thought too hard about what we were actually doing. The thing I can't remember my own mindset at all as a general matter. I remember images and sense impressions, but not my own feelings for the most part.
That's interesting. I think most of what I remember is my feelings.
Yeah, it is interesting. I think it's sort of this unstable ego business that we've discussed before on trucks, is that things that stick with me are mostly sense impressions rather than memories of my reactions or emotions.
Yeah.
I also remember hanging around with the disreputable kids in the neighborhood. It was a bad neighborhood, but I was allowed to run around unsupervised a lot, thus the chipped tooth and so forth, which is a thing that I consider a general positive. I was allowed to wander around outside by myself a lot, probably more than kids these days are allowed to.
I had probably the bare minimum of that it's possible to have as a kid.
Yeah, that's a shame. I think it was good. It made me very apt to wander around in dangerous places by myself as an adult, which I think has been pretty much 100% positive
Yeah.
in my life.
I think it took me until a little after college to get past the deficit that being too indoorsy caused me.
Yeah. If I had kids, which seems unlikely at this point, but if I have kids, they will be allowed to
Outdoor
become
kids.
a little bit feral.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Bonk.
Oh, that's a tough place to be stuck. Oh dear.
We're fine.
God, that's a beautiful sunset, though.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, no, it's a
Yeah.
yeah. I sort of like blearily peering out at the world. I remember that's maybe my impression of just like not really understanding the world at all or the way that it fit together.
Yeah.
Just sort of experiencing it as a series of things. Oh, here's one. I think I remember one of my very first memories of like intentional planning behavior was trying to set an alarm clock really early so I could get up the following morning and watch Fraggle Rock.
Oh, nice.
Which was just then debuting as a TV show.
I barely know what it is.
It's a Muppet joint. It was one of the it was one of the few non-Muppet show / Sesame Street Muppet TV programs. I think maybe the only TV program that falls into that category.
That does ring a bell.
Yeah, they're Fraggles. They lived in a rock. I remember very little about the show, having very rarely actually managed to wake up on time and go downstairs and watch it.
I think my next cluster of memories, of which there are very few, there's a house which I think is the first house I can remember living in the States. I don't quite know what town it was in, but I remember that it was red.
This would have been in California?
Yes. Somewhere in the Bay Area. My dad was in tech already at this point. Although, I think my parents told me once that we briefly lived in Washington or something before moving to California, but don't quote me on that. Yeah. Dad, Mom, if you're watching, tell me about my childhood.
May or may not have been in Washington at some point.
Or maybe it was some other state. Maybe it was Oregon. I don't know.
All right.
But yeah, like, I remember that the house was red. I remember that we liked to call it the Red House. I remember eventually driving away from this house and saying goodbye, Red House, for the last time. In the Red House, I remember that when... God, so many things in hindsight are like genuine clues, now that I think about it, about ADHD that I didn't pick up on and nobody picked up on.
Right.
There were times when like some mischief went down in the house, which was probably either my or my brother's fault. Something was broken or knocked over or left out of place or whatever. But neither of us genuinely, I mean, I knew that I genuinely, for the most part, couldn't remember doing the thing that I was accused of, and neither could my brother. And we would blame it upon a being named Mr. Nobody.
Straight out of the Family Circus.
Yes, and, Mom would sort of cutely go, "Oh, Mr. Nobody did it." And we'd be like, "Yeah." I mean, and we were kind of in on the joke.
That's what happened, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We were kind of in on the joke, like, after a few years of it, we knew that Mom was, like, saying it was probably you, but fine, I'll sort of humor you on this Mr. Nobody thing.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I just thought, like, not remembering doing it, and probably this is kind of normal for a kid to some extent, like, not remembering causing the mess is kind of normal. And, like, maybe it really was Mr. Nobody, I don't know, like, that's a thing. And I remember two more memories in this house. I remember being checked up on like Christmas Eve or something during like a dinner party or something while I was sleeping by my parents and the house guests, or maybe it was just the house guests.
They just came in there and said hello.
Just kind of peeked at their heads in the doors and said, "Aw,"
Right.
And I remember watching a home movie. A memory within a memory, I suppose. I remember watching a home movie and thinking it was the funniest thing I had ever fucking seen, when there was just sort of an errant bit of footage in there of my mom, like, kind of wheeling the camera around the house and not filming anything in particular, and then, like, turning a corner and catching my dad looking startled, and then they both go, "Oh," and cut the cut the recording. I honestly think that might have informed my sense of humor in a big way.
So staid was your household that even that small act of impropriety was riotously amusing.
I don't know that for sure.
The timing of the cut, who knows?
Yeah, it was good comic timing. It was the look on my dad's face. It was the ability to, the burgeoning ability to perceive my parents as beings capable of comic error.
Right. Yeah.
I think
that's definitely a big part of it. It struck me like that one of the first memories that you mentioned of this place was leaving it, because that was also true of the first house that I lived in for me.
Yeah.
I think one of my strongest memories of that house was the conversation that we had when it was revealed to me that we were, about to move out of it, and I must have looked around me at that point with the intention of remembering it. Wow, that was ruthless, Josh.
It was awesome. I didn't take any damage. I bumper carded that guy, made him stop, and stole his place.
Perfect.
That ruled.
But yeah, no, I remember looking up at these blue glass plates that we had that sat on the window where they caught the light, and looking at them like really intentionally. And that was probably the most straightforward memory I have of what that house even looked like on the inside.
Yeah, I can only really remember the hallway of the red house.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's a good way to remember something, is to be informed that you're about to leave. Like, I don't remember being told that that my mom was pregnant and that I was going to have a brother, but I do remember being told that we were going to leave the house, which happened around the same time.
Yeah. I was probably old enough to be informed. I would have been like 1.5 when my brother was conceived. I don't remember it either.
That's pretty early. I was 5, and I don't remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, big old holes in my memory is the thing that continues throughout my life, which is, I think, related to, speaking of like signs of mental illness. Like, I have the big joke, which my first like real major depressive episode was, I think my first real major depressive episode was when I was in middle school, actually. It was the first time that I faked sick to get out of school a lot because I hated school so much.
Yeah.
But that, when I was in 6th grade, I think, was the first time that I had to stay home from school because I was too sad. I wasn't even lying about it, It was, and like, my parents understood that it wasn't a bit that I was doing. I was just like, I felt too bad to go anywhere, and it wasn't, physical illness. So I just stayed home for a few days, and everybody took that seriously, which I appreciate them doing.
That's kind of them,
rather than trying to bundle me off to school anyway. But I remember that quite clearly. My parents blamed the Sandman, or my mom rather, because this is the kind of insane thing that she would do. Blamed my reading the Sandman comics rather than my hitting puberty. And understanding that, and also being like in an absolutely hellish situation at school, but
right.
No, it was clearly the gothic comic art that caused me to become depressed. But I remember that very clearly. But the first real serious adult depressive thing that happened to me was my 3rd year of college, and as a result, I remember very little of my 3rd year of college, or at least less than other parts of my college experience, to the extent that I was looking at my transcript after I graduated, and I saw that I had taken a class called Human Immortality.
Ooh, that's a weird one.
Yeah, no, I had taken a class called Human Immortality, and I'd gotten a B in it.
Some transhumanists teaching that class?
I would love to tell you, but I have no fucking memory of taking this class. I don't know what we read. I don't know what classroom it was in. I don't know what it was about. I don't remember why I chose to take it.
It's kind of.
I imagine what it was like a survey philosophy course about writings about death. Which I'm sure must have just really suited my mood at the time. But
the title of the class sure makes it sound like, here's the unit on cryogenics, here's the unit on brain uploading.
Exactly. That was very much not what it is. I mean, the school that I went to very much felt that any practical information was beneath it, particularly in the liberal arts. So, no, they wouldn't have told you how to become immortal. They would just tell you how to think about becoming immortal.
Those are not practical subjects anyway. Let's be honest.
But yeah, no, that's the first like real serious, holy shit, I've lost months of my life gap. But
that's wild.
It's an interesting thing, like, particularly how much of memory is stored in these contextual bits and pieces, which is, I have moving into this, or I've completed my move into my current apartment a while ago, and finally got all the rest of the crap out of my childhood crap out of my parents' house, and was going through it because there was way too much of it. But it was really useful because all of this memory is stored externally,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not stored externally, it's in there somewhere, but the only access that I have to it is by looking at these old pieces of paper.
Right, that's the weird thing, is that you if I were to go back to that house, I would probably be like, oh yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's very different now, but if I could somehow go back to that house,
right,
I'm sure much more is somewhere locked away in my brain. Just the keys to unlocking those memories are long buried.
It's very strange just as an experience, because you think one is used as being alive in this era to think of one's brain as a computer, or a cantanker, or to at least imagine that it operates on largely the same principles that a computer does, and to imagine just
it doesn't, but
it doesn't. Yeah, to imagine all of these vast amounts of memory that, like, somewhere I mean, this is true with computers, that if you break the organizing principle, if you break the file structure, then that memory can still be there but be completely inaccessible.
Yeah,
maybe there is something,
it is a good metaphor
to that comparison.
Yeah,
that
just not the literal mechanism of it.
Yeah, but but it is also true that you can intentionally build file structures. This is what the whole memory palace thing is about.
Yeah,
that they say, I've heard that, like, how you can be sure to remember everything is that if you have a particular walk that you take and you associate everything that you want to remember in terms of one stop on that walk and then another stop on that walk intentionally, you can remember huge amounts of data in order by doing that kind of thing.
Sounds so hard to do.
Which I found it to happen, like, without.
Sometimes you do things like that accidentally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it happens.
Associations.
Hang on, my father's just shown up. Yes. Where I can't remember. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, like, mailmanning. I wrote about this in one of the post office poems, but one really does remember a vast amount of information.
Yeah, I've actually been struck by that reading your poems. Is like, how do you actually remember all this specific information about the people you're delivering?
Because it's all stored, because you're taking the same walk every day, and so it's all stored along with all of its concomitant, sensory information about what their house looks like and where it is on your, daily routine.
It's pretty wild. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's similar to how you remember where every single fucking enemy is in Dark Souls.
Yeah, it's. I think that our brains are designed precisely to retain information about the spaces that we occupy. On account of that's a good way to avoid getting killed.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Indeed. It is also interesting in that to reflect that when you move away from a place, you're electing to leave behind a lot of memories. Because you're not traversing the same spaces anymore, and therefore you're losing those anchor points.
And then you get into the realm of, like, the deep memory, where there aren't, like, specific events or references that you're coming back to, but, like, if I go back to England, it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like what it used to be like. When I was a child, this is what the world was. Not any of these specific places, but this feels like the place that coddled me as a babe.
Yeah, I have to say, I have an opportunity here potentially, which I've been weighing, and of course, there's no guarantee that I would be able to do this, but every month now, I'm going to check the open route listings that come up because I want a route of my own finally, and still don't have one. And one of the ones that's open this month would involve me delivering to my old middle school.
Wow.
Which, I mean...
You think any of your old teachers are still...
Oh my god, like, one hopes not. One hopes that they're all fucking dead at this point.
Were any of them quite young when they were teaching you?
There are probably a couple of folks who... I mean, yeah, no, there are definitely folks who'd be still around and unretired at this point if they decided to stay there, but with any luck, the administration, who are, without exception, awful human beings, are all turned over by this point. But
I wonder how Miss Jackson, my 5th grade teacher, is doing. Speaking of, sorry, go on.
That's fine. But it would be interesting because that's a part of town that I don't go to, that I haven't had any reason to go to, but which I knew, like, with this incredible intimacy when I was between the ages of, that was my walk to school between the ages of like 11 and 17, and revisiting it now and relearning it with the degree of granularity that you have to relearn it if you are doing this job would be the most incredible overlay of associations from back in the day being like slammed by associations from, like, I'd be going, this, it wouldn't be exactly be there, but this route is like ends like a couple blocks away from the house that I spent the majority of my childhood. It would be really weird. And my first immediate thought was, there's no way that I can or should do this, but I'm talking about it, I'm starting to think that it would just be an interesting experience, all told.
Would it be a good route overall?
Probably
to the
not.
extent that such a thing can be quantified.
But who knows?
Prioritize the good route, I say.
I can't really
be
a chooser at this point if I want something before... If I want to get on something before Christmas sets in, which would be a good idea, this is sort of the only option available to me. Or that I can't... Hey, we're in Portland. That was the Telecom Crossing Bridge that we just saw. You're on I-5. It just seems so normal to me that you would be here. Sweet. Cool.
Let me try and find some school memories. I think most of my memories of elementary school involve being bullied.
Yeah.
Not like super violently, just sort of getting picked on. There were these kids who like to call me Dosh. And I hated them so much for calling me Dosh, which means money now. I know now that they were calling me money, which...
were these British children?
No, they weren't.
Then they probably weren't.
I wasn't British enough to know. If it would have been so 2nd grade cool of me if I could have been like, you're calling me money.
Money Josh.
So man,
Josh.
Money Josh.
I have specific instances of bullying lodged in my memory forever. I think
I remember. Sorry, go on.
I think I've told most of these stories before. Most of the worst ones are in middle school. I do remember. I think this would have been 2nd or 3rd grade. 2nd grade or 4th grade, somewhere around there, somewhere between 2nd and 4th grade. I think it was 2nd grade. There was a girl who was a thorn in my side for like the entire period of my elementary school education, who was always picking on me for reasons which might become clear as I tell the story. But she asked me in front of everybody at one point, like, who the girl I liked was. And I said, I like every girl. I like all of them.
Aww.
And that's
sweet.
It was the wrong answer. I was made fun of that for literally months. It was
damn
a completely unacceptable thing in that culture, apparently, to like all the girls.
That's so heartless.
Yeah.
It's nice to love every girl.
Well, you would think.
What else do I remember about school? I remember I liked to play tetherball. I remember I liked to play Foursquare. I remember when they remodeled the playground into a metal one instead of a wooden one. I remember we liked to play cops and we played hide and seek. Hide and go seek tag was the most thrilling game to me as a kid. Just converting the entire school ground into basically a level design, like a massive system of hiding places and intrigue, and like if you thought the other guy was onto you,
what are you doing, Mr. Policeman? Good grief! Oh, that's what
that
doing.
was. Yeah. Still, I don't think he indicated the fucking jerk. Realistic police behaviors are being simulated. Yeah, we have a problem.
Yeah. Are you going to do the thing that you did last time and just smash through all the cops?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
It's really the only. Okay, well, it kind of does look like if I did an illegal U-turn on this highway, I could maybe find another way onto this. But let's just, because like the roads in this game just aren't detailed enough.
They don't seem to mind.
No, yeah,
so that's fine.
Move along. Oh, you got a mulcher, oversized cargo. Understood.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Right up past these civilians who've had a car accident.
It's a 2-lane road, and only one of these roads is blocked anyway.
Yeah.
So everyone just get over yourselves,
I was not popular enough, or I did not have access to the kind of social groups at school where we could have done that kind of game.
Yeah.
But I did do it
blast.
at my house a few times. It was nice.
Oh, nice.
I enjoyed that. When we had
I also remember that
gatherings.
Sometimes during class, I realized that I could ask for a bathroom break and then just sort of wander around the hallways.
Ooh, yes, the fruits of the fruits of deception.
Yes,
it was
that was a much needed relief until I got called out on it.
I think it was 6th grade when I realized that I could just not go to class and stay. It was one of the benefits of being a divorced kid and also a latchkey kid and having access to both of my parents' living places, that I could just decide to walk to my dad's house instead of going to school with the, confidence that he would be in at work, and then I could just sort of let myself in and hang out. I definitely did that on more than one occasion.
I didn't have friends who were cool enough to skip school with, or any place to do it alone.
I didn't have any friends to skip school with. I did it all by myself. But that was, I think, if I had to trace, I was a bit of a criminal up until college, from like middle school to college, and I think that was the first realization that just out of desperation I could break the rules because of how miserable things were, and save myself some heartbreak, and that sort of extended
hanging
into
out
a lot
in a
of
classroom. Hanging out in a classroom all day long was just not possible. It was just not possible.
No, it was so miserable. It was so utterly miserable. And like that extends to, I get bad feelings even like when I'm, in like work training situations. It's just unpleasant.
It's funny because I remember the adults at the time being like, "Oh, just deal with it, just grow up." But even like thinking back on it, I'm like, "No, that shit was horrible."
Yeah, no. I would never want to do that again. Like, and for me at the time, being smaller than everybody, and also like getting picked on and being scared all the time, in addition to just the structural shit of it all, just awful.
Yeah.
Why would you? I've heard people. I've heard like interviews with people who are homeschooled for like non-insane reasons. Who were like, I'll send my kids to real school because I missed out on all of the socialization. I have really bad social anxiety, and I sort of have had to rebuild that as an adult. And I was like, yeah, no, I also have to do that, but I was at school, like,
yeah,
I was miserable enough at school that I didn't get to have any, that I didn't get to really build any social skills up, and I had to be in this horrible environment all the time. It did get a lot easier once I became large and less scared of everything as a result.
Yeah. I remained pretty scared of things for quite a while. It transformed as I got older. The fear changed shape.
Yeah.
Here in these final few minutes, let me give you a completely left field memory that has nothing to do with anything else.
Go for it.
I was a kid, probably a teen, probably like a tween or a teen, like an early teen. hanging out in a cafe in Paia, Maui, Hawaii.
Fair enough.
And Mary-Kate Olsen walked in. And
This is another dream.
everybody...
Yeah.
No, it's real.
Oh, God, you have
Everybody,
to back
like,
into that.
fuck,
That's so so stupid.
yeah, I think
All right.
I think maybe I can go around. Oh no, I can't. Can I? Okay. Well, I have to drive down this path anyway to make this happen.
All right.
It's too bad this memory won't take longer to describe.
That's fine. I have some follow-up
Cue
thoughts.
up another one. Yeah. I just remember, like, everybody in the cafe got really excited to introduce themselves to Mary-Kate Olsen, and I just sort of said to my brother, "Let's go." I have a lot of memories of that town. I remember the sushi place in that town.
Was this a frequent holiday destination for y'all?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
My parents, my mom especially, was a big windsurfer in those days, and Maui was the place to go to windsurf.
It's always hilarious to me how nautical your mom is.
Yeah, you know, I'm named after a boat.
You wouldn't know it to look at her. But
Yeah, she loves the sea.
She loves the sea.
She has sailed more than most at this point. She did that round the world thing. Very impressive. She won the damn race.
yeah, I
Go,
don't know
Mom.
if we ever, updated that on trucks, but goddamn. Yeah, I just wanted to pick up something about like that sort of that feeling of being fear motivated. Because I was certainly fear motivated for like a lot of my life, and part of sort of
This could be unrecoverable. This could be really bad.
you might have to teleport.
Maybe. We'll see.
I definitely recall there was a time in my life when I had to sort of I realized that I was no longer fear motivated because there's a lot of fear of getting in trouble or disappointing authority figures or what have you, or fear of the other horrible children and all of that. And when I get old enough not to be scared of other people or to care about what about people being mad at me in the same way, that left me without anything else to motivate me.
Yeah.
And that was very difficult to navigate because I hadn't really developed any other reasons to do things. And that leads into sort of the whole, coherency of identity discussion that we have had. And did you lose half of your oversight? Oh no, that's just the shadow. The whole coherence.
Teleporting was pretty damaging, though.
And another thing about developing a coherent sense of identity is that a lot of that identity is based on memory, and if your memory's full of holes, that's also challenging. But we also had a town that we used to go to a lot when I was a kid, which I have very fond memories of on the Oregon coast, because we weren't big rich guys like you guys, and we and my folks, well, I will immediately give the lie to that by saying my folks have a second home there now. And, which means that we're doing pretty well, or they are at least. And that's pretty much one of the uncomplicated positives. All of my memories from that little town are all great.
Yeah, travel. It's funny, as a kid I didn't much like traveling, but in hindsight they're all quite good memories. One of the memories I have of Hawaii is actually playing Ico there for the first time, and
we come full circle. Everything's video games.
Yeah, there were times in between going places, and I had brought my PlayStation and I played Ico, and it was actually exquisite. A wonderful place to play Ico. Would recommend the smell of the sea.
Yeah.
The smell of the Pacific Ocean, really quite enmeshed with that game for me. Geez, this is a tough one. Here's another travel memory.
This is that reminds me of when I was in, I think, sophomore year of high school. I got to spend a summer in France with my aunt, and one of the many, many things that she did not like about that experience was that I was, I think, about equally excited to stay in her apartment and play emulated Super NES games on her laptop, because I didn't have a laptop that could play emulated Super NES games at home. And
that's good.
Yeah. So I have fond memories of staying in her house playing Super Nintendo and sort of just experiencing.
I remember my mom
through the window.
I remember my mom showing me Elite on her childhood computer.
Her childhood computer?
Yeah, her mom kept it in the house as, I think, her only computer for a long time. She never really used it.
What kind of computer was it?
I don't know. You'd have to ask my mom.
I can't ask your mom about what her childhood computer was.
I'm gonna guess it was some sort of Amiga. I don't know though.
Perhaps it was a Spectrum ZX.
Oh, that's very possible. That's completely likely, actually. One more travel memory.
Go for
it. An England memory. My favorite part of traveling back to England was actually always driving from place to place at night. Like going from one family wing's house to the other family wing's house would always take a few hours, and I would always do it in the dead of night. And the radio was weird. We got to listen to weird music with like just darkness all around the car on those very, very samey highways that they have in the UK. And I remember one of these quite distinctly. We listened to, do you remember when they released a gimmicky compilation album of the Beatles called Love that was sort of hella like remastered to the point of remixing?
Yes.
And
wow, you did it.
And like all continuous. Whoa, that counted?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, we did it. I feel like I kind of want to do it right, but we'll just go with it.
I'll just let it go.
And yeah, that was actually the first time I'd ever sat down and intentionally listened to the Beatles. And honestly, like as a kid, in that context, like driving through England, listening to the Beatles in that hyper, like slick contemporary way, it made a big impression, and it was kind of great.
There are albums that I love in the same way that I love because those were the tapes that we had in the car when we were driving to the coast. Which I've now listened to, because I've done all of this excavating of media from my kidhood, because I have this compulsive need to understand all art from the latter half of the 20th century. But I've now listened to them enough to paper over a lot of those early impressions, fortunately or unfortunately. But something about a car cassette tape has a particular emotional resonance to me.
Yeah. First, it was mostly mixed CDs that my dad had burned, and he had some questionable taste.
Yeah.
Lots of Savage Garden.
That is an excellent note to end this Trucks on, in my estimation.
Yes, remember Savage Garden? That might be.
Yeah, remember Savage Garden, you guys?
Now.
I don't.
All right. What do you remember? Tell us in the comments.
Yeah, interact with us for once. Get on that.
Yeah. Okay, bye.